Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today I'm flying solo and I feel like I haven't done one of these in so long. I've had so many guests on. So I said, you know what, let's get in, talk about a topic that I think is very important. Obviously, that's what I do on every podcast. But actually, this isn't the podcast that I was going to record today. I was going to do a completely different one. But the reason why I'm doing this one is because of a conversation that I had with a client yesterday evening. So I've been up all night and all morning trying to get this podcast ready. So hopefully it's a good one. But secondly, before I get stuck in, I just want to be totally honest with you, because if you're a long time listener to this podcast, you're not coming here for the fluff. But I have been absolutely flat out over the past, I was going to say weeks, but it's actually months, with work, with events, with travel, all very much first world problems. But I just wanted to highlight the fact that I did not want to come here today. I actually booked in this episode maybe a month ago because I knew that I just wouldn't get down and I wouldn't record a podcast because I'm heading to New York on Saturday. And I see him just so busy, as all of us are, so busy, right up until Christmas, and then sure, January hits and I'm busy again. But I felt like I just wanted to say it today because the moral of the story is sometimes, actually most times, we don't want to do the thing, whether that's training, getting your steps in, meal prepping, saying no to the croissant every single morning. We don't want to do that. But you fucking just have to do these things anyway. So if you're listening to this today and you're putting off something, just go and get it done, because, you can't get the result if you're not going to do the thing. And I said to myself this year that one of my biggest focuses, I wanted it to be podcasting, because my episodes were very, very sporadic up until this year. And I have been consistent with it. And, the show has grown exponentially. And that's because I've showed up and I've done it anyway, even if, I didn't feel I wanted to. Again, every time I train, I usually don't want to. Every time I'm sorting out my meals for the week, I usually don't want to. But if I based my actions on my feelings, well, then I would never get it done. So anyway, Kellie, shut up. Long story short, I did not want to be here today, but now, right now, and after I record this, I'll be buzzing and I will have enjoyed it. It's that friction at the start of all of these things. It's us inside of our own heads. So get out of your own way and get the thing that you want to get done today. Right, okay, into the actual topic of today's podcast. And as always, it's a quite deep topic. Surprise, surprise. That's what my podcast has seemingly turned into. But all for the benefit of the listeners. And the topic today is, you are not broken. You are just following a flawed system. And as I said at the start of this episode, this topic today that I'm talking about came from a conversation that I had with a client yesterday. So I want to explain the conversation. I want to explain how this topic has to do with weight loss. But also, again, surprise, surprise, I want to go even deeper and talk about it in terms of how you're living your life. So yesterday I sent on my one-to-one clients a video, an education video. A lot of you will know now that my coaching is to educate and to empower people to actually understand how weight loss occurs, so that they're not following another diet that gives them, results for a certain amount of time, and then, they can never stick to it, and this constant cycle that people find themselves in. So anyway, I sent on an education video yesterday to clients, some of my clients, and it was all around how healthy food doesn't automatically mean that it's low-calorie food. And the moral of the story that I wanted to get across was that you cannot endlessly eat any food. So people think, because it's healthy, I can eat as much as I want. No, you can't. Well, you can, but not if you're trying to lose body fat. And all of these things that I'm highlighting to my clients are problems that I faced in the past. And I always say I find this podcast like a therapy session, because I'm just talking about things that I have done wrong in the past, highlighting them to you so that maybe you will take them on board and start to implement them into your life. So I used to think this way. I used to think that, eating nothing but healthy food was how you lost weight. And I could never lose weight because obviously I was eating too many calories. Doesn't matter whether it came from a fucking piece of fish or a donut. And then that resulted in me thinking there's something wrong with me, or there was something wrong with my body. I can't lose weight. I am this outlier. I have a problem or whatever. All of these, again, stories that we tell ourselves. And a message that I got back from a client of mine literally blew me away. And I'm going to give you the gist of it, okay? So she replied to my education video and she said, I'm floored by this. Just because it's healthy doesn't mean it's low calorie. I thought that healthy meant calories didn't matter because it's nutrient dense, aka full of good calories and not the bad calories like candy. And then she wrote, yeah, this explains why no diet has ever worked for me in the past. And then she went on to say, so we had a conversation back and forward and she said, I'm going to play this video on repeat. This is the important bit. This is why I'm chatting about this conversation I had with a client. She said, I never questioned this belief. I just assumed I was a failure, not that the belief was wrong. And I just messaged her back and I said, that is so, so powerful that you realize that, because you are not broken or you are not a failure. You are just following a flawed system. So the system was, that she was following was that no matter, I can eat what I want, not just as long as it's healthy. And again, there's so many conflicting bits of information out there that, you can hear this thing, even though it's wrong, and you can start to follow it because you've been told it will help you get to this point. It will help you lose weight. And that's what I've been doing for so long in my life. Oh, carbs make you fat. Never eat a fucking piece of bread again. Or you can eat what you want as long as it's healthy. So all of these systems are flawed, but we don't know any different. We have to educate ourselves. And it's hard because who's right and who's wrong? I literally saw a video online from a fitness person that I liked to watch. I thought she was funny. And she was demonizing fruit. She actually said in the video that fruit is not a fat-burning food. And I was just like, no. When does this end? There's no fat-burning fucking foods, So she has millions and millions of followers. So now those people are like, oh shit, better avoid fruit. It's a flawed fucking system. You have to understand the principles of how weight loss occurs, and then you can make your own system. And that's what I'm trying to do with my clients. But as I said, that conversation yesterday, literally I was just floored because that client of mine realised from one message that she wasn't the problem. Her body isn't broken. She's just been following flawed systems all along. And so many people out there are following flawed systems. And there's so many of them. Literally as many misbeliefs out there as you like. Examples: eat as much of this food as you like, but none of this food. We've all heard that before. Free foods, sins, all of these things that slimming clubs tell people. Like, think about saying that to a child. It's actually mental, the things that we believe. But people are so desperate to lose weight that they will believe anything. Another example, keto with no context. Keto works, but why does it work? You're not giving the context. Low carb with no context. Paleo, intermittent fasting. I could literally talk about these flawed systems all day long. And it's not that they don't work, but they're not explaining, why they're working. So for example, if you're following a no carb diet, of course it's going to work for you instantaneously, because carbohydrates, I don't want to get too scientific, but carbohydrates hold on to water. So when you cut out carbohydrates, your body is also losing all of that water that those carbs hold on to. So you're not actually even losing body fat. But the scales drops, so you're happy. Another example of no carbs is that you can't have chocolate, you can't have biscuits, you can't have cake, you can't have crisps. Of course you're going to fucking lose weight. Anybody would lose weight if they cut out all of those things. But the problem is that it's not sustainable. All of these systems that I've just said, they don't work in isolation. Yet we're not told that. Nobody who's selling a keto program is going to tell you that this won't work long term for you because you have to cut out all of your favourite food, and that also, you see a massive reduction weight at the start because those carbs are holding on to a lot of water. So somebody who's trying to sell you a plan and a quick fix are not explaining the whole thing. They're just telling you that you're going to get this result in isolation. And the last episode of my podcast, I had Paul Scanlon on, and I took so much from that episode. I took so much away from that. But there was one line in that episode that kind of floored me, and that I've actually used a lot with clients since I've recorded that episode. And he said, you can't have a sustained behavior change without a belief change. I'm going to say that again. You can't have a sustained behavior change without a belief change. And the problem is that people who are following these diets, these fad diets, these restriction diets, is that they're trying to will themselves into a result. They're trying to effort themselves into a result. They're absolutely fucking miserable, but they're sticking with it because this time it's going to result in weight loss. Yeah, in the moment, but not long term. So you have to address your flawed belief system with nutrition. And, you know, how are you going to do that? You have to find somebody like me that is going to teach you the correct way so that you can take control, so that you are empowered, so that you can do it long term. You know, clients that work with me, and I'm not trying to, you know, inflate my ego here or sound, you know, amazing or whatever, but they say that through working with me has actually changed their life because, listen to this, not because they've lost so much weight, even though they do lose weight, but it's because they now no longer allow food to control their lives, allow their weight to control their lives. It's not all they think about. It's not all they focus on because they know how to lose weight now, and they get to decide how fast or how slow they do it. And if they do it really fast, I'm like, there is a chance that you're restricting and that you're going to rebound. So let's do a little bit slower, and you can get there probably, you know, longer than you would have liked, but you get there in a sustainable way. And hey ho, you can live like that for the rest of your life, you know? And I think if you have listened to my podcast for long enough, that you'll believe me and realize that I'm not trying to sell you something by saying that. I'm actually currently, 25th of September, and I'm fully booked until January 2025. So I'm actually not trying to sell you something because I can't anyway. I'm fully booked. But what I'm trying to do through this podcast is help you understand why. Help you understand why all of your dieting attempts in the past have never worked, and help you to understand why you're not happy. So the diet industry, think about all of the money that can be made there. Tons and tons of money, so much money. And why? As I said just a second ago, because people are so desperate to lose weight. All they've ever wanted to do their whole life is lose weight. So therefore, they're going to be easy to sell to, and they're going to believe when you tell them you can help them lose 2 stone in 2 weeks or whatever these crazy things say, they're going to believe that. And also, there's a lot of competition in the diet industry because there's so many fucking people out there, you know, saying that they know what they're talking about and again, trying to sell you a plan. So what do you have to do to beat the competition? You have to say, oh, my plan works because it will help you lose, as I said, 2 stone in 2 weeks or whatever. You have to, or what a lot of people, you don't have to, but what a lot of people are doing is they're coming up with these diet plans or new weight loss plans that sound sexy because they're trying to sell them. None of this shit is regulated and people can say what they want. So they're promising you these things. You're believing it because you're so desperate to lose weight. You try it and the problem is it works. It works for probably a fucking month or 2. And then it doesn't work because it's unsustainable. So let me give you this example, right? Someone has this plan. It's a 4-week keto plan where you can lose 2 stone. Sounds great. Absolutely. But they never tell you, as I said earlier, it's because a reduction in carbohydrate means a massive reduction in water that it's holding on to. So you're not actually losing fucking body fat. They say you'll lose 2 stone and you might, but they didn't say it's not going to be 2 stone of body fat. A majority of that's going to be water. And as I said as well, they never say to you, oh, chocolate, cake, crisps, biscuits, all of them gone. They're carbohydrates. So they're selling you this story. You like the sound of it, but they're not being transparent about it. But again, why are they doing that? Because there's so much competition. They have to make their offer sound amazing. And then we have Kellie over in the corner here, and Kellie's saying, come at me, I'll help you to lose weight. But I'm going to teach you about nutrition. I'm going to teach you about training. And there's going to be a lot of mindset. You're going to have to work to do this, but I promise you at the end, no, sorry, I'm done. I don't want that. I want the 4-week thing where I can lose 2 stone. And that is the problem. That is the problem. That is the reason why so many people cannot lose weight long term. One, they're looking for this magic bullet. And I said yesterday on my stories, I said, the secret is there's no secret. Do the work. You are worth doing the work for. They're looking for the silver bullet. And even more dangerous, there are so many people out there in the fitness industry trying to sell you an unsustainable plan, because sustainable results are not sexy. They are not easy to sell. And I actually just had a conversation with my producer before this, and we were talking about all of these topics. And I was saying that the way that I've done it is I have literally put serious amount of work into my systems, into my clients. When I first started, I started with 0 clients, like everybody, rang up the secondary school teacher, told her I wasn't coming back next day. How am I going to pay my rent? Have to start getting clients. I actually took on my first 5 clients for free. But what I did in that moment is I said to myself, I am going to give these clients the best service possible. And if they get good results, and if they enjoy their life, and if they realize this time it's forever, they're going to talk. They're going to tell people. So as of today, I have never once in my life done a paid ad, done a paid promotion, done anything paid. My clients come to me off the back of the results that my other clients get. So there is a right way to do this, but it's not easy and it's not instant. That's the problem. My business is built over the last 4 years, but what's the alternative? Get onto social media, make false promises and make money quick. A lot of people aren't gonna take the correct way, but that's enough talking about me. I'm here talking about you and trying to help you understand why your weight loss has never worked in the past and how you can change that. So as I said, you're following all of these flawed systems, these quick hits, instant results, all these fad diets, and it's never going to work long term. By doing the same thing over and over, you're going to get the same result. And you need to sit down, and I said this in a podcast before, I've probably said it multiple times. You need to sit down and be honest with yourself and say, how long have I been dieting? If you've been dieting over a year and you haven't got any sustainable results, you're doing it the wrong way. You're taking the wrong approaches. The systems you are investing in are not working for you. So you have to do it the right way. I put up a post on Instagram a while ago, and it was a graph. And the graph is going up, down, up, down, up, down. And I said on it, this is 95% of people's weight loss journeys. They lose weight, they find it again. They lose weight, they find it again. If that is you, you are taking the wrong approach to weight loss. And the uncomfortable truth is that the right way is going to be slower. It's not going to be your 2 stone in a month. It's going to be your 2 stone in a year, 2 stone in 2 years. But when you get to that point, you're never going to find it again. So I feel like this is like an advertising fucking episode in itself, because I keep talking about my clients, but I can only tell you the experiences that I have with my clients. They say to me a lot of the time, I feel sorry for people out there who will never see the right way, who are always going to be stuck in this cycle. And they say, I'm just so glad I found this program, because although, their weight loss might be slower, they're doing it again in a sustainable way that's going to last forever. One of my clients that I'm working with right now at the moment is 72 years old. And she said to me, for the first time in her life, food is not controlling her life. And she's like, I've never felt the freedom like it. She said the first thing she used to think about waking up is how much she weighed and what food she was going to eat and how she was going to be good and how she was going to restrict all of these food. And she's 72 and she's been living her whole life like that. So I lived my life like that in my, late teens, early 20s. And I actually will be forever grateful that I found the right way, in my 20s. And I was so young. A lot of the clients, the profile of my clients is, about 25 years of age up until their 70s. And some people can get quite upset about this when they finally realise, fuck, I've been living my whole life in this binge restrict cycle, on or off, good or bad, weight up, weight down. And they're like, I feel like I've wasted so many years of my life. One client in particular comes into my mind, and she was really upset by this. She was like, I'm 55 years of age and I've lived the last, 25 years of my life constantly in this binge restrict cycle, food controlling my life. I feel like I've wasted it. And I'm like, yeah, but you could be 75. So obviously, we have to look at this the right way when you finally do realize. And then I said to her as well, how many people in life will never realize this and will go to their grave having let food control their life, having tried every single diet. So I'm here today to tell you to stop. After having my drink, really thirsty today. Stop choosing the quick fix and start doing the right thing. Again, the right thing will probably not be as, quick as you would like it to be. Wouldn't everyone like to lose 2 stone in a month? But it's going to be sustainable long term. And as I said, like, I'm not selling you my coaching, even though it definitely works, but because I'm fully booked until January. But I do have a weight loss package that is available. And the reason I say this to you, buy it, don't buy it, that's up to you. The reason I say it is because this actually teaches you how to lose weight long term. There's training plans in it, whether it's at home, the gym, training videos. There is a nutrition plan, cookbook, all of those things. But I think the most important part of my weight loss package is there's education videos, there's education podcasts, there's all of this stuff that I'm talking to you about on the podcast, trying to explain to you that this process has to be different this time. Because all of the times that you did it in the past, it led you to where you were today. So that's available if you want it. But I've spoken now for about 20 minutes on weight loss and how you are not the problem. You are not broken. It's just you're following a flawed system. And I want to take today's podcast even deeper on this topic. Again, surprise, surprise. But I want to go deeper on this topic, and I want to talk about how this, can be looked at from a bigger perspective of the happiness and how happy you are. And again, it can be uncomfortable. A lot of the feedback I get from people is, Jesus, Kellie, listening to that podcast was really uncomfortable, but it's what I needed to change. And hopefully, off the back of this episode, you can actually understand what you need to start doing to just live a happy life. This is a lot of the stuff that I coach my clients on. So I think it will be no shock to say that as humans, we've never been as unhappy as we are today, as a collective. And what I want to do in this episode is, in my opinion, explain why. So this is my opinion, and hopefully it will hit home. And again, that you will know what is necessary for you to do to start living a happy life. And if you live a happy life, brilliant. Maybe it could help you to live a happier life. So the reason is the same as I've just talked about with weight loss. We are not happy because we are following a flawed system for happiness. So here's the system that we're forced into and that we're told will make us happy. Looking at all of this realization, all of these things that I'm realizing didn't happen overnight. I've been working on this stuff, for the last 6 or 7 years. And I just feel I'm in a position now where I am living, my authentic life. I'm living a happy life. So I am giving you what I have realized over the years so that maybe you can start thinking differently today. But in school, right, from the time you are a little child, you are told to compete against everybody else. You are told to strive to be the best at everything. Get the best grades in every subject. Get a good leaving cert. Get into a good college. Get a good degree. Get a good job. Keep pushing in that job. When you get in, push, push, push. You want to get to the top of that ladder in the job, promotion after promotion. Why? Because you get more money. What do you do then with the more money? You'll buy more things and then you'll be happy. This is the narrative that we're sold by society. This is what we're told all along. This is what we're pushed into. And we're forced into this mold of what success and happiness looks like. We're forced to all be the same. And years ago, if we were to compare, because I think a lot of the time I look back on how we lived as hunter-gatherers, and we were all much happier back then because we were just living in the now. You know, we're not comparing ourselves to other people and stuff. But I think the story that we're sold by society now is just trying to make us all conform, make us all be the same. And Jesus Christ, how dare you be anything other than normal? This, bar that's set by society. Whereas if we looked back, we weren't supposed to be normal. It was actually our uniqueness back then. Our uniqueness is what gave us purpose. And it's what we were praised for. We all had a role. And our role was essential for the function of our community. But now we don't. We're all pushed into the same roles. Get into that job, sit at that desk, make the money, buy the things. And we never ever look up. This is the fucking problem here. I've done it for so long. I was that person. I done all of these things that society told me would make me happy, and I was fucking miserable. But I never questioned it. And that's the problem. We just do because we're told, and we never actually ask ourselves. We never look up and ask ourselves, is this making me happy? That simple question. And I say simple, but it's not simple, because for the majority of people, the answer will be no. The answer will be no, I'm not. This isn't what makes me happy, but it's what society told me to do. It's what I was told to do all along for my whole life. And what happens is, when people realise, oh, this isn't actually making me happy, they're too afraid to step outside the mould, to step outside society's ideologies of what success and what happiness looks like. Why are they too afraid? Because they're terrified, as I said a second ago, to be seen as anything other than normal. We're all afraid of being seen as different. We want to be accepted, and again, that stems from our evolutionary past, accepted into the tribe. I left a steady job, as you all know if you listen to this, if you listen to my podcasts. I used to be a secondary school teacher, and I left, what society deems as a good, steady job. And people thought I was fucking mad. People literally thought I was having a breakdown. What are you doing, Kellie? Going to do this keep fit thing online? What's wrong with you? It's one of the scariest things I've ever done. Literally one of the scariest things I've ever done, because, I was going to say nothing to fall back on. I obviously did. I could go back into teaching. But I was putting myself out there, and I was like, okay, I'm not doing what I should be doing. And people, as I said, thought I was mad. But people don't think I'm mad anymore because I succeeded. But back then, if I had listened to the criticisms of others, I just would have went back like everybody else does. So people, I think out there, people do sometimes think about this whole concept. Is this making me happy? Is my life making me happy? And a lot of the time people will say no, but they're too afraid to move. They go back. Society pulls them back. People's opinions pull them back. What I'm trying to tell you is that you have to first of all look up. Get the blinkers off, look up and ask yourself, is the life you're living making you happy? And if it's not, this is the hard part. You have to take the courage. You have to build up the courage to step outside the box, to step outside the mold. And it's not going to be easy. That's the problem. If it was easy, everybody would be fucking doing it. But they're not doing it. When I told my family, told my friends that I was leaving teaching to do this online personal training thing, it wasn't even really a thing back then. They thought, as I said, some of them thought I was actually going mad. But I love the quote. To avoid criticism, say nothing, do nothing, be nothing. And that's how I think a lot of people are living their lives. Just staying in their lane, doing what they always do, getting what they always got, never really being happy, but never asking themselves. So I suppose if you're unhappy but you're not aware of it, well, there you go. But what I'm trying to do is bring awareness to you today to ask yourself that question. Are you happy? And if not, having the courage to step outside the fucking mold. And it will be the hardest thing you ever do. Imagine realising that this job isn't making me happy and thinking, what are the steps I need to change? Imagine realising this relationship isn't making me happy and thinking about the steps that you need to change. Imagine thinking that this place you're living isn't making me happy. It's making me miserable, but realizing the steps that you need to change. Those steps aren't going to be easy. They're going to be so, so hard. You're going to get a lot of criticism and judgment from others. But guess what? A lot of people judge others because they're afraid that they're going to outgrow them. They're afraid that they're going to leave them behind. And they're highlighting their inaction. A lot of people judge and criticize others because they're just fucking afraid for what the other person is doing. They're afraid to do it themselves. You know, I genuinely believe that criticism from others is never about you. Never, ever about you. If you're being criticized by someone else, it's never about you. It's a projection of their own insecurities. It's them realizing, fuck, isn't she brave for trying? And it's highlighting me sitting over here in the corner, staying stuck. So I'm not saying that this is going to be easy, but I am saying that it's the best thing that you'll ever do. Because why? You're going to start living the life that you want and not the life that others want of you. You are going to work towards being your authentic self. And I know that term, authentic self, is thrown around a lot. I know that. And I've actually talked about it a lot on my previous 2 podcasts. They're so good. If you haven't listened to the one with Paul Scanlon and Padraig Danaher, go back and listen to those. But I genuinely believe that you deserve to live your authentic self. We're just afraid to do so. And I think that fitting in and belonging are 2 different things. They're not the same thing. A lot of us just fit in and we just get on with our lives. And as I said, we do what we always do. We get what we always got, but we're never, ever happy because we're fitting in. We're not belonging. And I'm here to tell you that life is too short. Life is too short to spend 80, if you're lucky, 90 years of your life just fitting in, just plodding along and never reaching your full potential. We are here for the smallest time, you know, in the grand scheme of the history of our species. We're not even a blip. We're like the word blip takes too long to say because we are that insignificant, and you're gonna fucking spend it doing what other people told you to do, being absolutely fucking miserable. That is not me. That is not me. And what I'm trying to do with this podcast is try and realize that shouldn't be you either. But a lot of the time, to go against society now, you'll find yourself in that lonely chapter. And again, you know, I was chatting to my producer before I pressed record. He is another absolute legend who I can have these conversations with, you know. And we were talking about the lonely chapter. And we were talking about when you decide to do other things with your career and stuff, people do think you're mad, and it's easier to go back. It's easier to be accepted by society. But that is not what's going to make you happy at the end of the day. At the end of your life, you're not going to look back and think, oh, I'm delighted I did what everyone else wanted me to do. And I'm delighted I never really went after what I wanted to do. You're not going to think like that. And I want you to realize that if you're unhappy now, because as I said, you know, starting this whole topic is, as a species, we've never been as unhappy as we are today. And if you are one of those people, you are not broken. It's not you that's broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just unhappy because you're following a flawed system. You're following the system that everybody else is told to follow. And you know what? It doesn't work for everybody. And let me preface here, it might work for some. I'm not saying that, I'm not judging anybody. It might work for some. People might have come up through the education system, got a great job, have loads of money, live in a big house, drive a fancy car and love their life. Brilliant. But a lot of people don't. And they're pretending that they do. So if that's you, if you're a person who is not happy with your life, just realize that you are not the problem. You are not broken. You are just following a flawed system. With weight loss, I've already discussed, you're following methods and rules that don't work. What you have to do is actually understand the principles of weight loss and then decide what your own system that you can follow that works for you, that fits into your life. And as I've just spoke about there, for success and happiness, you're chasing metrics of success and metrics of happiness that have been set by society. You're not realizing, oh, I get to set my own metrics for success, my own metrics for happiness. I literally worked on clients in this exact topic about 2 weeks ago on our private podcast. I was like, so many people go through life trying to measure themselves against society's yardstick of success or yardstick of happiness, and they're coming up short the whole time and they're never ever happy as a result of it. But how about you just decide the metrics of happiness? And literally in that decision right now, in that moment, you could actually just live a happy life with what you have, because you get to decide what success and happiness looks like for you. For example, last night, I literally was cooking dinner. My girls were outside. They were playing on their pink tractors that they got from Santa. We're living on the side of a mountain. Zero noise, just birds doing what they do. And in that moment, I was like, fuck, I love my life. I love the simplicity of my life. I love to where I've got to in terms of realizing what actually makes me happy. Because although there's a lot of things I still want to achieve in life, absolutely, in terms of, my career, my business, my family, travel, all of these different things. Yes, there's things that I want to work towards. We're all going to have these things, but I'm not putting my happiness off until then. And I am enjoying right now. Last night I caught myself and I was just like, wow, I am so grateful for my life right now. And it's not because I live in a mansion. I don't. We're building a house, but the house we live in is absolutely tiny. There's no room. We're bursting at the seams. But it doesn't matter. I love where I live. There's nobody around. Obviously love my kids. I just love the simplicity of my life, and I'm not comparing myself to anybody else. And I'm not trying to hit these levels of success that have been set for us that society tells us will make us happy. I'm enjoying my life on my own terms. But what we all tend to do, and again, it's drilled into us since we're this high, since we're tiny kids, we all think that happiness is on the other side of achievement. Happiness is not on the other side of achievement. Happiness is in the process of achieving things. Like I said, I am not saying to you, have no goals, have no ambitions, have no aspirations. It's the opposite. But what I'm saying to you is, don't put your happiness off until you get them. Yes, work towards them, but you can still be happy now. You can be happy right now and a work in progress at the same time. Happiness is in the everyday. And I think, for me anyway, I'm starting to realise, although again, it's a work in process, I'm never going to be the finished product. And that's another thing, we all think we're perfect. We all think we've got to the end of what we need to learn. We don't. We're never finished products. We're always going to be work in progress. But one of the big things, and I've said it on the podcast before, that I have realised that's changed my life and allowed me to live a happy life, is realising that the happiness of your life is dependent on your ability to live in the present moment. It's in the simple things. As I said, I love the simplicity of my life, but what we tend to do is we tend to defer happiness. I'll be happy when I get the thing. I'll be happy when I achieve that goal. I get over that obstacle. Stop deferring your happiness until some future point when you've achieved the thing, because guess what? When you achieve that thing, you'll just want the next thing. So if you're never, ever able to live in the present moment, and I'm not saying like everyone's lives are amazing right now, but there is some source of happiness that can be found every single day while still working towards, the things that we want to work towards, because happiness is fleeting. As I said, when you achieve the thing that you told yourself will make you happy, you will just want the next thing. Think about the last thing you told yourself would make you happy. What's the last thing you said? Oh, when I get that job now, I'll be happy. I'll be able to start living my life. And did that make you happy? No, I've done it myself. I've postponed my happiness for so long. And to be honest, it was one really, really eye-opening realization for me, actually. I did all of the things, as I said, that society told us will make us happy. I worked really hard in school, got really good grades, went to a really good college, got a really good degree, got a good job, was pushing my way up the ranks in the job. Everything seemed perfect. And I still wasn't happy because we hadn't got a house. We were renting. And I would be happy when we got a house. I'd be happy this, that and the other. And it was really like an eye-opening moment for me. I remember thinking, shit, I've been living the last 25 years of my life, 30 years of my life saying that I'll be happy when I get the next thing. And all of the things that I told myself I'd be happy when I got to that point, I never was happy because I wanted the next thing, didn't I? And I remember in that moment, I said, you know what, fuck it. We won't build a house right now. That was about 8 years ago. So we've had planning permission for a long, long time. And I remember back then when I made that realization, in that moment, my story in my head was, I'll be happy when we have the house. Yeah. So me and Mo were going to build a house. And I caught myself and I said, I'm not going to defer my happiness until then. And actually, we're not going to build now. We're not going to build the house now because this is why. At the moment, or at that time, we probably would have put ourselves under a lot of financial pressure to get a mortgage and to try and start having kids and all of these things. You know, it's not as easy for us to have kids as it is for the average couple. So in that moment, we decided, you know, fuck it. Like, we'll keep renting. So what? We can build the house down the line. And we had kids and, you know, we enjoyed our life. And right now, 8 years later, you know, we're in the middle of building the house. So I could have kept striving for this thing that, you know, was the next thing that I was supposed to get. Kellie, when are you going to build a house? Kellie, when are you going to have kids? All these questions that people fucking ask you because we're all wired the same. We're all pushed through the system. We're all fucking being molded into these molds. And I decided, no, I'm not. I'm not going to build a house. I'm going to focus on having kids and focus on actually enjoying my life. And down the line, when the time is right, I'll build a house. And now that time is right. So I think happiness is very much when we stop wanting things because, as I said above, it's fleeting, you know? Happiness will not come when you get the thing because when you get that thing, you'll just want the next thing. And I think that I love this quote. Desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. So back then, 8 years ago, I could have done that. I could have said, you know what, the house is the thing that will make me happy. And I could have gone through those 8 years, you know, having kids, all of these good things, but not really being happy because we didn't have the house. Stop doing that to yourself. And I know it's hard to stop doing it because it's what we've been told to do all along, isn't it? Look up. After you listen to this episode, please look up and ask yourself, is this thing making me happy? And stop wanting stuff, you know? As I said, desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. And I gave you an example there of the house, right? But it even comes down to the day to day. So a really simple example. And I've used this before. How many times have you said, oh, my phone's a piece of shit? You know, if I was to have the new model of the iPhone or the new model of this, that and the other, I'd be happy. Then you get it the next day. You're making no fucking blind bit of difference to your life. Do you know what I mean? And then a week later, there's a new release of the phone and you want that new one. You're never, ever going to be actually happy in your life if you keep wanting things. Now, again, there is a balance here. Let me be very clear. I am not saying to you to stop, you know, wanting to achieve things, you know, do things with your life, all of these things. I'm just saying make sure they're the things you want to do and not the things that you're told will make you happy. Make sure it's you in the driving seat of your life because seeking happiness is usually the cause of unhappiness. Seeking happiness in the things that we've been told will make us happy is the cause of unhappiness because a lot of us can't live up to these fucking expectations that society set of us, you know? So trying to live up to that all the time and trying to measure yourself against everybody fucking else just causes unhappiness. Seeking happiness is usually the cause of unhappiness. You have to find happiness in the everyday because if you think about it, actually think about it, the everyday at the end of the day, Jesus, I'm a poet, the everyday at the end of the day is what makes your life. You think your answers, your happiness, all of these other things are found outside of you. Oh, if I move house, move place, I'll be happy. Oh, if I get the right partner, if I get the right job, I'll be happy. We all go through life thinking that happiness is outside of us. Happiness is inside of you all fucking along. You just haven't been focusing on the right thing. You just haven't been prioritizing the right thing. So how do you do that then? You're like, Kellie, I've listened to this episode. I know what you're getting at, but I don't know what to do next. I don't know where to go with my life. This is the advice that I'd give. Firstly, start thinking about what really makes you happy in life. As uncomfortable as this might be, and why might it be uncomfortable? Well, you might realise that the job you've been in for 20 years and the job you've just stayed in for the pension isn't worth spending another 10 years of your life in. Uncomfortable truth. The partner that you've been with for 20 years, the length of time you've been with that partner is the only reason you're with them. Mary, all you ever do is moan about Tom. Why are you together? Sure, Jace, we've been together 20 years. That's not a reason to stay. That is not a reason to stay. Uncomfortable truth. These things aren't easy. They're not comfortable, but they're necessary. They're necessary in order for you to start realising what do you actually want. And a lot of the time we don't actually know what we want, but we know what we don't want. That's where to start. Start thinking about what you really want in life or what you don't want. And again, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be uncomfortable. And again, you might get to that point. Step 1 from Kellie's list of things to do. And you might not go past that point. You might say it's going to be too hard or too difficult to leave a relationship that you've been in, to leave a job that you've been in, to leave a place that you've grown up in. And that's where most people go back, because the lonely chapter is fucking lonely for a reason. It's not called that for any other reason than it's bloody lonely. But if you keep pushing and you keep, headed in that direction of where you've now realised you want to go, yeah? If you keep pushing and making small steps in that direction, you'll eventually find, a new, essentially, as it's said over and over, but a new tribe, yeah? Surrounded by like-minded people, by people that you actually have conversation you enjoy having, not the constant mundane reality of life. And I'm not saying that life has to be fucking all sunshine and roses. I'm not saying that. I already just told you that my life couldn't be any more simple. Literally the day in, day out of my life. Now, not all of this fancy podcast and flying to the IFS stuff. My daily life is so simple. Bring the girls to school, go and exercise in some capacity, work with my clients in my little tiny office in my house, make dinner for the girls, have dinner together, play with them, watch a bit of telly, whatever. It's so simple. But I am not striving to be anything else. I'm not striving to be, all of these things again that we're told to be. So anyway, back to your steps. The first step, start thinking about what you really want, as uncomfortable as that might be. Second step, start making small steps in the direction of where you want to go, even though now it's going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to be easy, probably going to be one of the hardest things you ever do, but it's going to be worth it. And I'm telling you that from someone who's on the other side of that. I went through that where everyone thought I was losing my mind, where everyone had their own opinion on what I was doing. It didn't matter. I kept pushing through, and I'm on the other side of that now. And then the third step, I would say, while you're going through that process, it's going to be uncomfortable, but while you're going through it, is find happiness in the everyday. Because we naturally have a negative bias, okay? It's basically our default settings. It's because it was very, very useful years and years ago when we were being attacked by a fucking lion or whatever. This negative bias was very, very useful years ago, but we don't need it anymore, we live, for a majority of us in a comfortable life. That's probably coming from a place of privilege. But if you're listening to this podcast, I'm guessing you are too. And you're not, going through war or going through all of these devastating things that are happening. But we, as I said, back to what I was saying, we naturally have a negative bias. And the only way to change that and to change your default settings from automatically going to negative things, negative, and you're going to laugh at me using this word, but it's gratitude. Again, another word that's thrown around, but it's not thrown around because it doesn't work. It's thrown around because it fucking works. Now, let me explain how I use gratitude. I don't journal. I'm not sitting there for hours, fucking legs crossed doing all these things that you think about when you think of gratitude and meditation, all of those things. That's not how you need to do it. It's very, very simple. It's small acts of gratitude in your every single day. And what this does is it rewires your brain. It rewires your mindset to start to look for the positive rather than the negative. You know, where you put your focus, that's what will grow. And I always say, what you look for, you will find. What you look for, you will find, whether that's negative or positive. So start changing that to the positive. And this is very much a practice. You don't wake up tomorrow and say, oh, Kelly told me to start practicing gratitude, so I'm going to practice, I'm going to be amazing, it's going to change my life. That's not how it happens. Unfortunately, it's not how that happens. What I do and how I started this, and I actually got this tip from when I was counselling my therapist. This therapist, that's very American, is it? But anyway, she was saying to me, Kelly, just in your everyday, anything that you're like, oh, that's nice, or that's beautiful, or I'm grateful for that, just stop for 1 second and just appreciate it and then move on with your day. And that's what I do in my life. You know, last night in that moment, I was cooking dinner. I was literally cooking a pan of mince and I looked out the door. The girls were playing on their tractors and I just said, wow, I'm just so grateful for my life, you know. And it can be anything. This morning, dying for a cup of coffee. Pulled into the shop before on the way to the podcast studio. And I was like, this is delicious. I am so grateful for this cup of coffee. So it's very, very simple. But what you don't realize that over time, you're starting to rewire your brain. You're starting to rewire, you know, the way you look at life. And you're looking at it through a lens of actually appreciation, positive gratitude, rather than moaning, you know, negative all of the time. And it's not that your life has changed. That's the amazing thing about gratitude. Your life hasn't changed. You're just thankful for what you do have in your life while, as I said earlier, while working towards the things that you do have. But the whole bloody point of this episode, Kelly, is you're working towards the things that you want. The reason you're unhappy in your life is because you're working towards the things that you're told you should work towards, you know? When I see people, you know, going out trying to, you know, be the best, all of these things, I'm like, I bet you they're seeking external validation and they're just not happy within themselves. If you were happy with yourself, if you were internally happy, you wouldn't need to prove yourself to everybody else, you know? You wouldn't need to be the best at everything else, at everything. So the whole point of this episode is do what makes you happy in life, yeah? Because when you get to the end of it, you're going to realize, oh, I wasted my life trying to please other people, trying to fit in. Fitting in isn't belonging. Don't waste the one shot. Don't waste the one shot that you have, because none of us, and I mean none of us, are getting out alive. Nobody's getting out alive. So you might as well live the fucking life that you want and that makes you happy, and not a life of trying to fit in and trying to fit the mold and trying to be accepted by the neighbours and to be accepted by society and to be accepted on social media. Let me give you this point that I actually wasn't going to throw this into the podcast today, but I was only having a chat to another coach a while ago, and they were asking me, what do I think is the reason, I suppose, that I have, I was going to say gotten so popular, but that just sounds not right coming from my own mouth, but like grown on social media. And why do so many people follow my stuff? And why do so many people, you know, relate to my content and find it useful? That's basically, they're trying to get the info out of me, how they can grow on social media. And my answer was, and I 100% believe this, is because I am just trying to be me online. I'm not trying to fit into what a perception of a fitness coach looks like. I'm not trying to be the best at, you know, anything. All I'm doing online is I'm trying to bring my life online, trying to bring the lessons that I've learned online, and I'm trying to share them with other people. And I said to that coach, by doing that, I am attracting the right market. I am showing the people who follow me online that I am a normal person, and that if you implement the things that I'm trying to show you, you can get to this point too, whether that be body composition, whether that be fitness, whether that be health, whether it be fucking happiness. You know, a lot of the stuff that I do online is mindset. So that's how I believe that I've got to this point, and that's how I believe I've got, you know, to the point of being able to reach millions and millions of people, is by literally just being myself, because people can relate to that. And I think people are starting to see through the bullshit of all of these, you know, perfect fitness models online and realizing I can never be like that, because I have kids, because I have a busy lifestyle, because I work a 9-to-5 job. And not that that's a bad thing, but these people online are trying to sell you a fucking story. Stop getting sucked into the stories. Start asking yourself, what do you want? And start working towards that, as uncomfortable as it may be. And while you're doing it, practice a little bit of fucking gratitude. And that's the key for me. Again, this is all how I've got to where I am in terms of happiness in my life. And hopefully, if you start to ask yourself these questions, you can get there too. That is it. That is all she wrote. Right, lads, I am pretty sure, because I haven't done this in a while, but I'm pretty sure I should be asking you to rate and review my podcast. I'm pretty sure it'll help me in some way. Only if it's positive. So if you think it's shit, if you've something negative to say, maybe don't go on and rate and review. But if you're enjoying it, if you think it's good, if you think it's useful, hop on, leave an L review, give me an L rating. And as always, share it with someone that you think would help. That is it. Hope you've enjoyed. Keep her lit, and I will chat to you soon.